I disagree with Kris on that one, because at Wigan last year, in November, I believe it was the first time we basically voted for a 14-team Super League.
Hello everybody, and welcome back once again to Back 10. Another week has flown by in the world of Rugby League, and I'm your host, Kyle Amor, and joined with me once again, the man to the far left is none other than the game's leading journalist, Matt Shaw, and I'm delighted to announce a guest that I've been really looking forward to now for some time. I was a former player at the club, but it's the Wakefield owner, Matt Ellis. Matt, welcome, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, Kyle. Good result on Saturday for us. We needed it. We'd had a few iffy performances at Wigan and at Home Saints, but much better after Saturday, mate.
Yeah, no, good stuff, good. Well, look, there's absolutely loads to get through with Matt Ellis and Matt Shaw, of course. But for now, do not forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything that comes out of All Out Rugby League, bringing you the latest news, gossip, views across the world of Rugby League. Now, let's get into the show. So, Matt, look, there's so many places that we could start, given all the great work that you've been doing at Wakefield since you took over in October 2023. But I just want to start with a personal sort of anecdote through when I was coaching up at Whitehaven in 2024. Me and you had a conversation.
Yeah.
And, you know, we spoke about many things, but for those that don't know, Whitehaven, of course, were really struggling, and Matt very kindly and generously helped out with being able to make sure that Whitehaven could get through to the end of the season. I think a donation was made of around 15 grand, which everybody, by the way, there was, myself personally, very grateful for you doing that. But on a conversation, Matt, I remember I was at my mate's house and we spent about an hour on the phone, and you told me that your squad that you were building, you believed was capable of getting into the playoffs.
Yeah.
I put the phone down, and I'll be really honest, I turned to my mate and I thought, he's mad, this one. I thought he thinks that he can come up and do that. But to be fair, you know, you said it, and here we are. What I want to know is, where did that genuine belief come from, Matt?
As soon as I took over at club, I thought, you know, I mean, going back to championship, going down to champ, you can rebuild, can't you? And if you get the right people, and Darryl leaving Warrington, you know, it just felt perfect timing. I'd seen what I was doing. I thought it was the best coaching game for five or 6 years, you know, when I were at Cass. And I just thought opportunity, you know, if you've got the right investment to come in, you know, rebuilding a squad from scratch, we could just keep the lads that we wanted to keep, you know, Max and Mason and a couple of others, and then really have a tilt at coming back in. And we then got Millsy in, and it was straight away right. We prepared for Super League right at the start of the championship campaign, to be fair. It was a ballsy decision, you know what I mean, because it was all confusing with IMG and everything. But I just thought if we went at it and went and won the champ and prepared for Super League straight away, I felt we were building a squad good enough to have a go.
I love what you said at the time when Wakefield were relegated. Once you took over, you spoke about how you saw it as an adventure. You saw it about taking your fan base to clubs that they hadn't been to for some years. Yeah. I thought it was a really interesting way of looking at a relegation, given that a new owners came in. And look, you know, you sold the fans a story. You got your man in Darryl Powell, and you've took them on an incredible journey. Look, obviously as well, back to Wembley, first time in 45 years in the 1895 Cup. You know, what did it mean for you to re-engage the club with the town again?
Yeah, I think getting the fans, you know, buying into the ambition. You know what I mean? You get relegated and then you're talking about we're going for top six. It's not the norm. You know, normally it's if you get relegated, it's can we get back into Super League? So I wanted to give them something, you know, to believe in, and they believe in my ambition for the club. And then getting them on board with the championship journey, you know, we make it so it wasn't going to be a long period in the champ. I wanted it to be 1 year. and go around, enjoy it, and go on. We'd not had a year where we'd won a high number of games, you know. So that was a new thing for the supporters of Wakefield. And some of the grounds that they went to as well, you know, we revisited grounds we'd not been to. And the people, you know, go back to the Whitehaven stuff, you know, the people at Whitehaven were unbelievable. You know, we went up, we embraced every bit of it, you know, the fans and myself, going and meeting the characters that are down there. And the struggle that they all have at these clubs, you know what I mean? And the working, the volunteering, putting their time and energy into the clubs. I have total respect for Championship and League One, and I think we need to grow that comp and make that more of a, you know, a great second division to the Super League, in my opinion.
Well, look, we will dive into that later on, of course, you know, the restructure of the Championship. But I just wanted to ask you, I mean, did you ever speak to sort of Derek Beaumont or consult Lee with how their model of what, if effectively you and them have shown everybody the way now, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, Derek were a great blueprint to go for. You know, I'm mates with Derek. You know, we talk about stuff. You know, I met him at the launch of the Champ last year, and he just done it right. You know, he went and prepared for Super League. You don't prepare for Super League, or you're not going to go and get in top six first season. You can't just do it all at the end of the season. So we knew that Derek could give us a bit of a blueprint. We went and followed that, really, to be fair, and it's you know, touchwood's coming good for us. It's
so interesting you saying that you can't just recruit for Super League in an off season. Well, there's a, you know, as the cards would fall, there's potentially 3 clubs who are going to have to do it. Matt, jump in.
Let's wait and get onto that debate. We can have that in the next segment. But I was going to ask you a few things about the future, because you obviously did a lot of future planning with your recruitment there.
Yeah.
What about what's your vision for what a Wakefield squad looks like in 2, 3, 4 years? Does it have big name star players? Does it have more marquee players? Do you bring over the best of the best? In your mind, what can we expect as the evolution continues?
Yeah, so I mean, we're obviously, you know, going to finish 6th or 7th this year. And obviously the conversations that we're having at Wakefield now is who's going to come on the journey to take us past that. So, you know, the squad that we've got now, everybody's going to be given the opportunity to step up. But if your ambition is to go and win the comp, you know, it's a salary cap game. You've got to go in and go, who takes us to that level? So, you know, I'd love it if the team we had now could push on and, you know, and that it's quite a young side and develop and grow together in the next few years to be a top 4 side. And challenge, you know, no bones about it. You know, we want to do what OKR's done, and we want to be we're competing with them. So it's who can step up with it, because that's the ambition of myself and Darryl and Millsy to get up there, and we'll keep going for it. So the answer to that question is, you know, if the lads that we've got now can keep, you know, it's a new team. If we finish 6th this year in first year, that's not a bad start. Can they keep growing forward and going forward? But obviously, if not, we'll have to fetch recruits in that help the club get there.
Matt, you look at the guys who have had success, you know, predominantly Leeds Rhinos, Wigan, St Helens. What they all have in common is they have that youth setup. Now, when I was at Wakefield, and for a long, long time, you know, after that, the club has always been known as a selling club.
Yeah.
Anyone that produces any homegrown talent out of there, they then get sold. Have you got plans, desires, ambitions to stop that? And how long do you think realistically that would take before we can really say that Wakefield's academy have got 6-7 players generating through into the first team every year?
Yeah, well, we've got a lad called Alex Bealby who's going and working in the community, working with the community clubs in Wakefield. But obviously we've got a huge issue that we haven't got a training facility. Mm-hmm. So myself and Craig, CEO, have been looking at a training facility in Wakefield that will make it like, Leeds have got Kirkstall Road, haven't they? You know what I mean? And kids get driven towards that because of the facilities.
That centre of excellence almost.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I have got plans that look phenomenal for a site in Wakefield, where it means I know that even in my time as owning the club, even this year, we've had kids go out, go to Warrington and Wigan from the Wakefield area, you know, what absolutely fries my mind. You know what I mean? But we need to. I think the stature of the club's growing. You know, so everybody's going to be able. You know, Wakefield's not what he perceived as a bottom end Super League club. Hopefully now, or going forward. And then once we get the facilities and you know, a real positive vibe on the youth, we 100% know that the way that Wakefield's going to be a top 4 club over the next 10 years is to have homegrown players coming through, like Saints have got and Wigan have got and Leeds have got. You know, that is undoubtedly the future for Wakefield.
When do you think you'll win a comp, Matt? If I was to put you on the spot, when do you foresee Wakefield winning at Wembley, winning at Old Trafford?
Whilst I'm here. Because I won't. That is what I'm going to say. I've got to keep going at it until we get there. And ultimately, I said this to the academy lads and the scholar lads the other day that have just signed up for on their forms, their new contracts. You know, I want to be best owner that Wakefield's had. You know, since Hatfield in the 60s, who were the last one that brought us success. You know, I'll keep going at it until we get it. You know, let's say 5 years, it would be a realistic target to try and get some. You know, I think that it would be in my mind. Let's just try and progress. And you know, it's tough, isn't it? You know what I mean? There's only four clubs won it, 3 in the last 20 years. So, but I'm going to keep going till we do it.
Yeah, so Matt, look, right at the start we mentioned there about you know, having the genuine belief that you've come up from the Championship and you're gonna get yourself into the playoffs. You know, that still we are waiting to see that happen. However, if you did get into the playoffs, does the squad genuinely believe that they can go on and win the grand final? Because let's be honest, there's no point in being in the playoffs just to make up numbers. I'm sure you, as an ambitious owner, would applaud the team for doing the goal that you thought. However, new levels, new devils, right? Once you get in there, then what? Yeah,
I mean, I think we learnt a bit at Wigan a couple of weeks back, you know, where they sort of looked like they were getting ready for playoff rugby. But, you know, we've turned Wigan over, we've turned Leeds over twice. You know, we've turned Lee over. You know, the only team we haven't really played well against is Saints. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we've got to go into that. The pressure will be off us. We've got to probably take that mentality in there that the pressure is off us. But we know that on his day, you know, we can beat everybody because we've sort of done it. So, I know if we can get, you know, the pack, you know, Caleb's coming back, get a full pack in. Mason and Truey are firing, you know what I mean? Fully fit. I think there's only Corey Hall that is out for the playoffs. So everybody else should be back. Now, you've got to take into account is we've had a lot of injuries this season. So we're going to get in top 6 with an injury crisis that's probably only Huddersfield or, you know, that have had worse. Mm-hmm. So we have had a lot of injuries this year. So I'm confident, you know, I mean, I've seen us beat Leeds twice. I've seen us go there. So, you know, they're playing superb Leeds at the minute. And obviously Brad Arthur's, you know, got them stiffened up, you know, really well. And Connor's on fire. But, you know, it's like that. I'd love that. I'd love a Leeds playoff game.
Well, you've just answered my next question. I was going to say, okay, you finished 6th. Who would you like to finish 3rd? Because there is a real battle up there, isn't there, for that second spot? And, you know,
I think Leeds Wakefield a bit, you know, that's the rivalry that we want, you know, we had that rivalry back in the 60s, you know, with Leeds and, you know, me and Gary have spoke about it loads, you know, the Leeds Wakefield rivalry where we're, you know, it's probably the last 20 years it's been, you know, we've been the underdog in every game. You know, I got Gary a poster for his, you know, for his last time he's coming to Wakefield as Leeds owner, and it had all the results on, you know, and I framed it and got him a poster, and it were like, you know, Leeds had won 80-90% of them.
I remember playing when I was at Wakefield, 3 seasons there, and we used to love playing Leeds, and they always had it on a Sky main game. Yeah. and it was brilliant. The fans bought into it. Us players did, because we were
we've had
underdogs
some good
more often
results.
than that, and we got some decent results along the way.
Yeah.
So
but it was still probably 80% lead.
Yes,
so,
of course. Yeah.
You know, so but we've had some great wins over them. But you know, I think that is the playoff that I'd love. It would be Leeds, to be honest.
Brilliant. But look, you know, we'll kind of just go back as well a little bit there on the Championship and some news that's came out of the Championship, the restructure of it, Matt. Return of the Loop fixtures, is it?
Not really. No, not really. I think people are trying to be mischievous with everything that's gone on with the 14 teams. So basically, for those who don't know, we got 21 teams in Championship and League One, don't we? Mm-hmm. So not enough for 2 divisions. A lot more than we used to for 1. But they're all going together. You can't have a league system of home and away with 21 teams because that's too many games. So what they've done is they've designed a hierarchy system, as they're calling it. Right. So depending on where you finish in the league, you'll play other teams in the league. So the teams who finish higher will tend to play the teams who finished higher the season before. Teams who finish lower will play teams generally lower in the league the season before as well. There's also then a couple of games that will be against local rivals to make sure you're getting those big games that bring the crowds in. Stay with me. I know this is a little bit confusing.
I'm trying here.
so you'll essentially play in a 21-team comp. You might play 12 or 13 of them twice, and you won't play the other teams. Mm-hmm. So technically not loop fixtures, because you're playing everyone home and away. So is it perfect? No. Is it ideal? No. Is it the least worst solution? Probably.
What's your thoughts, Matt?
Well, I mean, I would prefer if it was just a simpler, two simpler leagues. I mean, I'm in the camp of the Super League should grow to 16, and probably then a second league of 16. Right. You know, that's my and just keep it simple. Mm-hmm. The utilisation of the grounds. I mean, I went to Dewsbury yesterday, and they've only had 9 home fixtures this year. And you're in a stadium with $400,000 running costs, or at Wakefield, and them extra 2-3 games would be massive to help the finances of the club. So my absolute utopia would be simple, but they've got to do something, you know. It is quite complicated what they've come up with, but it sort of, it means there's not going to be many blowouts, I think, or shouldn't be blowouts.
That was the aim, because they didn't want, when you bring in 2 divisions together, if you had, say, Toulouse, who are top of the champ now, or York, play Newcastle, who are bottom of League One, do you want that every week? You don't, do you really? No. You get a bit of a fixture imbalance, because you could have a particularly poor year and then end up having easier fixtures the year after.
Okay, though, but just to challenge that, there's many people who are concerned about these clubs that are going to come up.
Yep.
Well, we're not just going to get the repeat of that. Your top clubs blowing them away, and we're going to have.
But they won't. That's the thing. The bottom clubs won't play the top clubs. That's the thing.
I mean, we've had a lot of blowouts this year, Matt, in Super League. Obviously, Salford. That's its own story, right? But there's been some big scores, hasn't there?
Yep.
And are we not in danger? Look, you've said that you're all for the game to grow to 14 to 16.
Yep.
Are we not in danger of seeing less quality of game?
Undoubtedly, next year is going to be a struggle for the new clubs. Undoubtedly. But you've got to look at it, for me, as a long-term vision. Okay. Now, the long-term vision of it, for me, would be that we have... I think there's also, obviously, a TV deal to look at as well, where, so there's 2 things going on there. The point I'm trying to get really is, if we can get to, say, a 16-team league and have it as a competitive league, so that the top clubs aren't stockpiling, that they've got the best player and then the second best player in that position, and you know what I mean? So the depth is spread throughout, so that there is competitive fixtures throughout the league. So that, I mean, I'd love a test, the England team to be 2 from this club, 3 from this, 2 from this club, all throughout the league. So that you literally go in, you talked before about NFL, before the show about the NFL. That is a great model where different teams have periods where they win the Super Bowl. And I think that is totally key to growing the game for me. That, say if we had a 16-team league, but there were a couple of games on Sky, then there was some on the Super League Plus app, it all helps grow it in different areas. So it grows the game in York, and maybe a rebirth in Bradford and London and all these different areas, Halifax and stuff, places like that, Widnes, and they're competitive again and reborn them fans. Because unfortunately, the top clubs at the minute, like Saints, I've got full respect for the St Helens club, but if they're getting 12,000, 13,000 in there, it's not enough. Them top clubs are not getting enough to grow the game, if you know what I mean. So we can get good crowds among 16 clubs and grow it that way. I know there's an argument about the talent, but we also got an issue with fetching, giving young players a chance, I think, as well. So
would you like to see a draft system kind of thing? Do you think that would be something that could be welcomed into the game? You mentioned about spreading the talent.
Well, yeah, I mean that is 100% something that would assist growing the game, in my opinion. So if there was like academies in York, 2 or 3 in York, or a couple in Yorkshire, a couple in Lancashire, Cumbria, whatever, yeah, and then players were drafted out there, that is marketable for me, and that then means that, say, I mean, the American way is that the lowest ranked team gets the first pick and stuff like that, isn't it? So that then gets the top players spread around, and that then creates, you want all the, if it goes to 14 and 16 in the long run, whatever it goes to, you want all them clubs feeling that they can win the comp, in the next few years if they fetch the right players in. At the minute, I think it's all down to the only way of actually reinvigorating a club probably is just investment, huge investment.
Matt, I've got a few issues with both things. So like the draft.
Yeah.
My issue with the draft is we've got NFL and they do it in America. They get given a lot more money, don't they? They earn more money in the NFL to go travel elsewhere. Some of the kids that sign contracts in our comp at the minute can go for 30 grand, can't they? And if you're asking them to go to Toulouse or London or wherever for 30 grand, I think that's a slight problem I've got with that. I like the marketing element of it and the program. I think it'd be great. I also think as well, and this is getting better slowly, but not across the board yet. There are some clubs that simply put more effort in to develop players than others. And you're essentially punishing them because they won't be able to keep them all players that develop. Yeah. Now, clubs are getting better. Your club is one example of really putting an effort into, and I've been, to be fair, for the last 5-6 years, but not all do. We've got to be honest about it. So you're almost then not rewarding them, but they're getting away with not developing their own because they just go into a system. My issue with 16 teams, 14 teams, I agree with you, short term is a problem, long term, probably all right. Yeah. Participation in rugby league is going down in the men's game. Yeah. So there are less kids playing. That means the likelihood is less good kids are playing. So how do we get enough good players, good kids playing the sport, to eventually have a player pool that's good enough for a competitive, high standard 16-team league? I suppose what I'm saying is my worry is you're dragging the top down rather than building everyone up.
Look, I don't have all the numbers and the research behind it, but I would argue that that's not just a rugby league problem. I would say that now there's a lot of less kids playing sport in general. I agree.
But it's still
a problem. I absolutely get it. But I also, as well, I wanted to stay with you on the 14 teams. Toulouse have been mentioned in there. Yeah. Do you think that there's room for 2 French teams? Are you happy with what Catalan are bringing to the party at the moment?
I mean, Catalans, they've done I think they add to the comp for sure. Toulouse, obviously, if they are the best option, then and they sort of win the championship or whatever, I'd prefer it not to be Toulouse, personally.
For why?
I just think that there is obviously there's the cost element to going to France twice. It might take a little bit away of that, the support going there, etc. But it's also, I believe that there's areas like York and Bradford and places like that can be reinvigorated. To, if I'd have took over Bradford, for example, and put the money that I put into Wakefield, we'd be talking about Bradford reinvigorating now. But I don't think we should just rely on it always being about somebody coming in to invest. That worries me, because if the only way of we're hurtling towards a situation of the next Salford is going to be the first club where the owner comes across he don't want to put any more money into it, or he has health issues, or we've got quite some aging sort of ownerships as well. So going back to the 16, the 16 only works, Matt, I think, if we go after it in all the new areas and we properly go after getting people in those areas buying into coming to rugby league and everything like that. Yep. That it don't work if we don't try and get participation numbers up, and we don't, but I think we're running game down too much. We're talking the game down too much, and I think if we go on the offensive with it, the Sky deal's massive. You know what I mean? We can't do another Sky deal like we've just done before.
What do you think will happen with Sky? With just broadcast deal in general, what's your read on where it's going to go?
Well, Sky are obviously not in a stronger position as they've been in the past. We've got Netflix, Amazon coming. People are on social media more, etc. So I'm not actually blaming Sky for where I know there's some of the ownership that criticise Sky. I think the deal that's right for the game would be that Sky take certain games, and then the Super League Plus app gets involved. Mm-hmm. The Super League Plus app needs to be good. Mm-hmm. We need a Super League Plus that is drumming up rivalries, drumming up, which shows in the week that drumming stuff up. That there's, whether we get a camera crew like you guys or whatever, and go around the clubs and we do, say, press conferences pre-game once a month or whatever. So we drum stuff up. Mm-hmm. We're playing Cass on Friday. There's not going to be any at the minute, really, any build-up, is there? No. So. Just that little, we're missing the little bits of gold that we can get from building stuff up. We're not good at that.
I agree with that completely. It's just the making the finances work, isn't it? That's the thing, because Sky take less games, they'll want to give less money, and then it's making Super League Plus work in terms of financially, because you'd have a fair chunk of money you'd have to recuperate. Now, whether that.
But we can go after it more, you know what I mean? If we're in, I feel that Sky at this moment in time, like, I never really push anything with trying to get any new subscriptions at the minute for Super League Plus, etc. Mm-hmm. I think all the clubs are going to have a responsibility to go and try and push Super League Plus into their areas, push people to get that, because. We've all got to sort of have a bit of responsibility for pushing Super League Plus, but the content's got to be there.
That is probably not there at the minute, is it?
No, it's just the game.
I thought Derek came up with some good ideas when he spoke about disciplinary hearings being on there live.
Yeah,
I think that's great, but I think Sky won't just take that. But you can use Super League Plus, say, as a platform to show this is great content.
Yeah.
Let's do this and that,
100%. I mean, if we get a Leeds Wakefield playoff, it's a big game. It needs drumming up. Whether it's pre-playoff game. Imagine if we had a press conference where we're all together and it had the fans there, and it was done at, and there was a little bit of edge to it. You know what I mean? That's the way to go.
I agree. I think that's where Super League Plus can be awesome, because you can't expect Sky to do all of that. I think Sky do a great job for the game.
Yeah.
I think that Super League Plus can be that personalisation that you talk about.
It's definitely about creating stories, and they do it so well in boxing, don't they? They create something that you want to be a part of and watch. So we'll see how that all transpires. But before we wrap this part up, really, I just wanted to reference back to Kris Radlinski's statement. Where they didn't vote, did they?
No.
And he said that that he wasn't sent any information before the meeting. Did you guys receive that information?
Well, I disagree with Kris on that one, because at Wigan last year, in November, I believe it was the first time we basically voted for a 14-team Super League. Back then.
Right.
At Wigan, Mike Danson was in the meeting, pre-Nigel. So, all this about Nigel's coming and it's 14 teams is actually incorrect. We voted for 14 teams back then. Adam Pearson was there from Hull. So it was pre the change with Andrew Thurkel there. And we sat around the table and we said that we voted for 14 teams back then. So, but that was just amongst ourselves. Yeah. So that was an owners meeting that wasn't really chaired by the RFL. That was the owners meetings are regular at the minute because we know the game needs to change.
Yeah.
And it was the first one I ever went to at Wigan, and because obviously we just got promoted, and right back then we pretty much unanimously went and said, let's vote for Super League. I know it's a little bit unclear still about the distribution element to it, so I get Kris's point with that, but we've been talking about 14-team Super League for 9 months.
He said that there was a meeting scheduled. Wigan, of course, they didn't attend it. Was that always a scheduled meeting, or was it a last-minute emergency meeting before the announcement of the 14?
I think we've talked about. I think we've talked about 14-team Super League on 2 or 3 occasions and I remember we had a vote at Wigan back in November last year. So I'm confused as to where it all just come out at the last minute from. I think what Kris was looking at was, and I get this, and Kris is, he's smart bloke, Kris, you know what I mean? He have full respect for him, but he wanted to know the exact finances and everything like that of it all. Now, that's the process that we're in now, with looking at the clubs and how they are going to fund their Super League campaigns. So to get it doing the piece of work that's been done now, I don't think was the easiest thing to do. But 14-team Super League was first voted at Wigan, and I'm surprised that hadn't been sort of come out previously last November.
Yeah, so Matt, you just mentioned there about that process taking place at Wigan, or that meeting. Nigel would, of course, he wasn't a part of the game again back then.
Yeah,
he is now. If Bradford were to get into the Super League, can you understand how some fans may be in a little bit upset or even more in uproar?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to look like, it's timings, isn't it? Everything's about timings. Nigel was voted in by the owners because, that we need somebody with a common sense approach to where the game's at this moment in time. And I think how the game was running, it was running out of control financially, to be honest. So Nigel's been fetched in for that reason. Probably, Nigel might be sat hoping Bradford don't get in because he's going to fetch a load of flack down on him, isn't it?
Well, he sold his shares recently, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a real good question. It's a real tough question to answer because, the clubs wanted Nigel to go in because the owners, can see the game is going financially into a doomsday scenario a little bit, where it was going. But I just think he's not involved directly in how that is going to get judged. So, how do I give a political answer to this?
Don't give a political answer.
I think Bradford should be in it because I think even though the stadium is tired, I think they can bring something to the comp if they can get a rejuvenating Bradford in there. I think if it can work on the stadium, make it look better, and get the fan base swelled, they can bring something to the comp.
Well, look, time has flown by once again, and we say it every week, Matt, don't we? There's so much more that we can talk about. Hopefully we can get Matt back in the studio in next season, and who knows, maybe even as a grand final winner, Matt. But that is us for now. Many thanks to Matt Ellis once again, Matt Shaw. We are now once again out of time. Do not forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any more news and views across the world of Rugby League. Bye-bye for now.